What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Love and Rice podcast with your host, Aunt Ma.
I'm your other host, Christina Ma.
And if you guys have not followed us on Spotify just yet, make sure you do hit that join button, subscribe, follow. What is it? It's a follow?
I have no idea.
Okay, so we're on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and CastBox, guys. So we upload every Wednesday at 6 a.m. So you can listen to it on the way to work, sitting in traffic, driving your kids to school. And then also we upload on YouTube 4 days out of the week. And we do these 20-minute videos. We break them up for you guys. So a lot of you guys really like that. So we're going to keep it that way for now. And I hope you guys are okay with these compiled 1-hour episodes. I think it's a lot easier for everybody. So today I kind of want to talk about all the craziness that's been happening around the world. We are officially in 2 wars. There's 2 different wars going on in America right now, right? You got Russia, who invaded Ukraine, right? And that's ongoing since earlier this year. And then now, just within the week,
just a few days ago,
we have the Israel, right? And Hamas. Is it called Hamas?
Yes, Hamas.
Hamas.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't want to butcher it. So a lot of people are dying.
Yeah.
Right here, I have my computer in front of me because I'm reading these facts. There's Google and New York Times that I have opened up here. And I want to make sure I get my facts right because you have to go very deep to understand the war that's going on, why people are invading, why people are dying. And it's just a lot to understand. So
there's just such a long history because it goes back to like the 1980s. And I feel like right now everyone's so divided because you have the Palestinians and then Hamas and you have Israel they've been pretty much in a war for a really long time. And now everything's just kind of surfacing right now. And a lot of people don't really understand the backstory of it.
I'm looking at this timeline here from New York Times, and it actually dates back all the way to 1949 when the Gaza Strip, which is where the Hamas, how do you say it again? Hamas. Okay.
Yeah, it was the 1940s.
So Egypt was controlling the Gaza Strip at that time, right? And then at some point, Israel took over, and then they retreated. And now, we got this terrorist group they're part of the Palestinians, right? And they are the ones that are trying to take back injustice and all this stuff. So basically, when you're saying that there's this long war, it's like yes and no, right? Right now, they just declared war.
Right.
But it feels like through these last 70 years that they have been nonstop at war.
Yeah,
right?
and they've been divided.
Yeah, so there's just so much going on. And within all of these wars, even with Russia, Ukraine, there's a lot of civilians that are dying. And that's kind of what I want to talk about. It's like, I don't understand both sides right now, right? I'm not in that world, and it's a lot. I don't know the whole history of these countries. And so just seeing the people that are dying, the innocent lives. So right here on Google, it says that since the Ukrainian and Russian war, there has been 120,000 deaths.
Oh, wow.
Okay. In Ukraine, 180,000 injured troops. And in Russia, there's about 70,000 killed and 120,000 wounded. So we're talking about like 3, 4, like almost 500,000 people in Russia and Ukraine who are either dead or injured.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And what is it that they're even going to war for?
I think, don't quote me on this. It could just be like I thought it was like a territory thing. Right, they're trying to take back
kind of
what
usually
was
is.
Right, take back what's theirs, stuff like that. And I don't want to get into those politics. I just want to kind of stick with these what's been going on in the war, and not really why.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of the same situation with Israel and the Palestinians right now too, and that's why they're going to war.
I think, so like right now, there's about 1,000 people in the Gaza Strip area on the Hamas side.
Yeah.
And there's 1,000 people on the Israel side who have all died.
Right.
1,000 on each side. And
it's only going to rise too.
yeah, because this is just the beginning,
Right.
right? And I think the scariest part is that they're kidnapping people, right?
Yeah.
So this terrorist group is kidnapping civilians in Israel. There's Americans, there's citizens of Mexico, right?
They're kidnapping and killing like disabled elderlies. Like they're going into the elderly homes and they're taking them out and like killing them. And they're mostly targeting like pregnant women, just women in general,
Why?
kids, babies. I don't know. Like,
Are you sure they're targeting, or that's just like, you know, oh, you know what? Okay. So this is what I read. I read that they're taking hundreds of hostages, right?
Yeah.
And they're not just, well, they're killing a lot of people too, but the hundreds of hostages, they're trying to do something with them for a reason. So it makes sense why they're taking the ones who are the most vulnerable,
Right.
because there are more value to them. So when you're talking about the ones who are pregnant, the kids, you know,
The
stuff
mothers,
like that,
yeah.
like that's like the other side would have to be like, please don't do this, right? Because that's my wife and my baby and all this stuff, and like it gets crazy.
yeah, I don't even know like the type of hostages that they are taking, but I do know that they have taken a lot of women. But I've also just heard that they've been beheading a lot of people too.
Where are you hearing this? What do you mean heard?
There's just so many articles. So, you know, knowing that we're going to be talking about this on the podcast, you know, I was
Yeah.
trying to do a lot of research and there's just all these headlines coming up. So it's kind of hard to be able to distinguish between like what's factual and what's not, because
Yeah.
there's just so many people that are kind of like choosing sides in a sense. But I feel like no matter what kind of war or battle that you're going through, like it doesn't justify killing innocent civilians because they're the ones who are suffering the most.
Right.
And
I think the hardest thing is that, like you said, right? We know we're going to talk about this on the podcast, so we were researching and making sure we had our facts right. And so this is how easy it is to find articles online, to watch videos on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Like everything's out there during war, and this war is like a few days only.
yeah,
right?
and there's a lot of articles and people on social media that are basically sending like a PSA to parents, like, hey, this week, you know, Hamas said that they're gonna start killing hostages if they're gonna start getting bombed from
Right. Every time a rocket is launched from Israel,
without warning.
they're gonna
They're gonna
what do you
kill
mean
a
without
hostage.
warning? So they're gonna allow them to.
I
You know
don't
what I
know
mean?
what they mean with that. It's just
That
not.
makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense. It's not a reasonable thing. But you know, there are people just warning parents like, hey, you know, there may be some live videos that are going to be circulating around because a lot of people watch that stuff.
Okay, so no matter if the videos are true or not true, nobody really has any idea what is real when it gets posted. But what we do know is that there's graphic violence and kids are watching. You know, when we're talking about kids who in elementary school who have phones now, you know, your middle schoolers have phones. Of course, your high schoolers do. They're the ones who are famous on TikTok. You know what I mean? And they're watching people get tortured, kidnapped, murdered. And I'm just like, at what point, when our kids get older, our kids are 5 and 3 right now,
Right.
and they are on social media, right? And so it's like, when do we give our kids control of phones and social media? Because I'm afraid when things like this happen, I don't want them to see it.
Yeah, I feel like it would be really hard because you kind of want to, I don't know at what age yet. We haven't gotten to that point because they're still so young, but eventually I would want to give them phones and give them access to certain electronics because I want to be able to know where they are. I want to be able to contact them. I want them to be able to reach out to us if anything were to happen, like if there was an emergency that happens or if something happens at school, right?
So what's more worth it to you, for them to know where they are all the time and that they're safe, or like, you know, and then on the other end, you're going to know that they're going to see these murders. You're going to see like mass shootings at schools. They're going to see all kinds of violence.
Yeah, so I feel like if that's the case, then it's kind of like having to censor phones that they have. You have to set like parental settings and
Do they have that on social media?
I believe so. And then they have like child modes and stuff like that. I haven't really looked into it because we haven't had to, but I know that they do have ways of censoring content.
You guys, let us know in the comments. Does TikTok and Instagram have that where you don't see the violence if your account is under 18?
You know, even
how does that even surpass them?
I don't know, but just going back to all the platforms right now, I feel like TikTok is the one that is exposing so much and showing so much. And I feel like that's probably one platform that I would probably prevent the kids from using for a while.
That's the one platform I can't trust because they're showing footage from how many years ago. They're pulling all these, these clips from YouTube and they're adding it to now.
Yeah.
Remember when they had like the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard court case? They're putting all these things on TikTok and you don't know what's true anymore.
Yeah, people are falsifying a lot of things. So they're taking stuff from like history and they're putting the footage now, making it seem like that's what's going on with the war. So I feel like a lot of people are trying to do that to try to like get people to choose sides, and it's kind of like, I don't know. All I know is I just want the kids to avoid TikTok for now.
That's TikTok politics.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I'm actually hearing a lot of stuff about it too, because when I'm scrolling on it, that's just on my For You page. That's all that I see.
So as a mother, right, you're in your 30s and we've never really, besides 9/11, we've never really seen bloodshed like this. Right. And during 9/11, it was like, we only had the news.
Yeah, that's true.
We didn't really have things going up on YouTube like that yet. We didn't have, it wasn't really going on Facebook. I don't even think we had Facebook at that time, did we?
I don't think so. But I feel like the media also shows you what they want you to see. So they kind of filter a lot of stuff out. Right.
But now on social media, you actually see dead people on the floor.
Right.
Blood everywhere.
That's TikTok for you.
Now I'm trying to say you're 30 years old and you're watching this stuff. What is your reaction to seeing these on social media?
So, I mean, for me, like I'm a huge empath, right? So when I was younger and growing up, I feel like when all these crises and emergency situations would happen, I would kind of avoid it in a sense, just because like when I would see these things and like even just watching the news, it would just affect me so much. Like even with all of this happening, I just feel like the sadness and the pain and like every emotion that everyone is going through right now. And even this morning when I woke up, I just like was so grateful to have Leia next to me because I was just like, oh my gosh, this is our children right now. I'm so like fortunate to have them with us and to be able to take them to school. But when it came to having to drop them off and like leaving them for the day, right, I was just so torn because they're not with us. So when they are with us, like we know what they're doing. We know that they're nearby. We know that if anything were to happen, we're there to protect them. But they're at school now and they're with a bunch of other students and, like it's not with us. So I was just so worried. I didn't want to let her go. I just gave her like the biggest hug ever because you just really don't know what's going to happen,
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's what these videos are doing to you.
Yeah. So so going back to that, I would always try to avoid it just because I didn't want to go too much into detail because the more I would see all these things, all the bloodshed, all of just the traumatizing stories that would happen, like it would just affect me so much. Like every day since this has happened, like I'm just constantly thinking about it. And especially because it's affecting women. I'm seeing women that are getting raped, and getting killed. And
how what do you mean? Where are you seeing them? And like,
it's on TikTok, like.
But what do you see?
So there was this one clip. It's probably taken down now, but it was circulating around for like a day, and I just happened to come across it. And it was basically just showing women that were being taken as hostages, and then you see all these like bodies on the floor. Like there's just so many casualties, right? And then you see women being taken. Their hands are bounded behind their backs, and then you just see blood all over their pants. And if I saw that, I wouldn't have understood. I would have been like, okay, maybe they were sitting in a pool of blood next to someone. But then, there's people who are narrating what's going on. And they're basically saying that these women are getting raped so much that they're bleeding. because they're constantly getting raped. So it's like one person after the other, you know, and it's just crazy just to think about that stuff, because that's something that we have to worry about nowadays and that we're afraid of. But to actually see that people are going through this, and like after they're getting raped, who knows what's happening to them? They're probably getting killed. So
Wow. Okay. This is a lot, and this kind of brings me to, I want to talk about next about like what would happen if we were at war and this happened to us. Okay. But before we get to that, all the stuff that's going on, guys, I hope you guys are reading up on it. You're aware of the situations. You understand it, because I know it's a lot. And it's just very, very sad to see. Praying for all the civilians and all the innocent lives that are stuck in between this war in all the countries and the two wars that's going on. It's mind blowing that this is happening in 2023, and I just hope, you know.
I just feel like with a situation like this, like there's even protesters that are in New York, and they're celebrating all of the deaths and everything too, because they're like, oh, free Palestine. And I'm not trying to get into politics, but I'm just like, why is something so crazy and all these innocent lives, children especially, and babies, you know, they're all losing their lives, but people are fighting a different kind of fight. Like they're just trying to justify all of those deaths, and I just don't understand. Like I just feel like we should all be coming together.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
I would say that, you know, I think when the Russia-Ukrainian war just started, I started thinking about, okay, what can I do to help? And so I went to Red Cross and I tried to donate blood and stuff like that.
Right.
So I think that's one thing that we can do here in America, is at least we can try and provide food, supplies, and blood, and anything else that they need. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Love and Rice podcast. We went very, very deep into this.
Without getting too much into politics too. We're just trying to...
It's just our perspective as mom and dads. And, you know, it's just, oh man, it's just wild. Guys, make sure you follow us on Spotify, also on YouTube. And we'll see you on the next episode of Love and Rice podcast.